Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us.
Well, welcome to Focus Today, and our guest is Nisha Jackson, which I can't think of a more appropriate time of the year and time to have you on, because we're seeing illnesses. You know, this happens around the Christmas time.
Yes.
We're seeing people eating too much. Of course, I'm not referring to myself.
Of course not.
Or you, or anybody in this studio. But, it tends to kind of creep up on you. There is that freshman 15 thing that they talk about when you get into college. I don't know
20, or 25. I mean, seriously.
It could be. And I'm thinking, I don't know if there's a name for it, but there should be like the Christmas onslaught or something, because that's easy to, starting from Thanksgiving through Christmas.
Well, it really starts at Halloween, I think.
Oh, does it?
And
really?
goes all the way through the new year.
Well, we're going to be talking about all of these issues, and you know what? You might have a suggestion as well, because Nisha's going to be with us for a couple segments here, and so you can give us a call with your holiday-related questions, as you'll see how we're moving into today's topic at 776-5368. It's good to see you. It's been a while since I've been able to talk to you across the table here, so that's excellent.
I like it.
Okay, let me ask you, just this, you don't have to pull out statistics, but from your experience, is the winter season like this a time when people tend to get more sick? Sick, is that right?
Yes.
More sick, really?
Yes, they do. The problem is, Steve, is that we do everything wrong around this time of year, right? We run ourselves down, we don't sleep enough, we're stressed out of our mind. We typically have more financial problems this time of year, which is emotionally stressful for us, which lowers our immune system. We eat more sugar. We drink too much alcohol. There are all sorts of things that happen this time of year that are not good for us.
And you think it starts from Halloween?
Yes,
huh?
I think it starts sometime mid-October, because unfortunately the stores get all that candy in ahead of time.
And they're all just bite-sized.
I know, so you think it's harmless, right?
Right.
So we even know now that a 5-ounce glass of orange juice reduces your T cell count, which is your immune killer cells, the cells that you actually want a lot of.
Okay.
It reduces that T cell count by 35%.
So you're saying orange juice is bad?
So what do people do when they get sick? They think, oh, I need some vitamin C, so I'll have some orange juice. But it's filled with sugar, and it lowers your immune cell. So it lowers your immune cells. And so that's not good if you're trying not to be sick. So all of those things we do during the holidays, we just go down the wrong path, and that lowers our immune system, and we just get sick easier. Okay,
I want to get into the whole thing of as you're talking about diet and exercise and all this stuff. First of all, I think a lot of people are saying, I am not sure if I should get the flu shot or not. I know that the strain, from what I read, is 40% effective against most flu strains,
Right.
as opposed to 60% in most other years.
Yes.
All right. So it is effective against some, but not all of them. But what is your take on the flu shot every year?
Well, I don't personally get the flu shot, even though I know most healthcare workers are advised to get flu shots. I choose to work on my immune system, because I think that that's your best bet. In fact, a study came out last year that looked at the flu shot versus optimizing vitamin D levels, and optimizing vitamin D levels was equally, if not more, effective than the flu shot.
Wow,
because
really?
It works on your immune system. The flu shot works on a few strains of the flu virus. So these things are very difficult to predict, what flu strains will be coming down the road each year. So it's very difficult to predict that. Although if you have a compromised immune system, especially if you get sick often, or you have some kind of an illness, or you're exposed to a lot of flu viruses or a lot of germs during the season, then I think that the flu shot's a good idea, because it's still, if you're going to take care of 40% of the most virulent viruses out there, then I think it's still a good idea.
Okay, well, I want to get into what you suggest we do for overall health that might then require us not have to have the flu shot. I want to mention the phone number I gave you is our normal office number, but the actual number to call us to be able to be on the air is 541-776 5770. We're talking with Nisha Jackson. All things seasonal, I guess, is what our show is today.
Oh, nice. I like that
I'm making
title.
it up as I go. You like that? All right. Well, let's talk about that then. So, if you're saying that we can improve ourselves just by what we eat, even during this brief period of time, what are you suggesting?
Well, first of all, I want to make sure that everybody knows that, you know, they did this interesting study about 2 years ago, and they infected 17 people with the flu virus. Kind of a weird study when you think about it.
Yeah, you wonder who would volunteer for that.
I'm not sure who volunteered, but interestingly enough, only half of the people got sick. So a lot of people think, well, I got sick because somebody gave it to me. Well, the reality is that we come in contact with 300 different surfaces within 30 minutes each day.
Wow.
Think about that. 300 different surfaces, right? So thousands of germs are coming by us and viruses are coming by us every day, but not everybody gets sick. So really it's not about exposure, because we're exposed to many germs and many different pathogens and viruses every single day. But the reality is what happens is that if your immune system is tightened up enough, you won't get sick. So this study proved that point, that half of the people that were infected with the flu virus, they were actually fed the flu virus, only half of them got sick. So it is all about your immune system, and they were able to identify that the people who were most active with their immune system didn't get sick. So I think that's the take-home message today, is what are all the things you can do to power up your immune system for the next 3 to 4 months while we're in this winter season, when it's the most difficult to stay healthy. What can you do to avoid the flu virus? Because it's inevitable that you will come in contact with it.
Well, I'll bet the first thing you're going to say is reduce sugar.
Yes.
Am I right on that?
Yes.
Did I get an A, a star?
It
or
always
something?
ties back to sugar somehow. Yeah. So sugar and processed carbohydrates, so foods that are flour laden, they're white foods, you know, all the stuff at Christmas time, right? All the good stuff. So just think, every time you eat something that has sugar in it or is made from sugar, man-made foods, the sugar has been added to it, not natural sugars like fruits, but any boxed foods, preservatives, additives, things that really are made from man. So they're not from the ground, they're not walking around, they're not from nuts and seeds, things like that. Right. So if you're eating a lot of those foods, or even just a small amount of those foods, if you already have an immune compromised system, then you're going to get sick more often. So just think, every time you eat something like that, especially on an empty stomach — sugar on an empty stomach is worse, by the way — you're going to get sick more often. It's inevitable that you will. So the name of the game is, you want to increase your natural killer instincts in your body. You want more T-cell counts. So the way you do that is you lower the sugar in your diet, and you start eating a real colorful diet, because what you want is antioxidants. You want antioxidants in your system, and the only way you can do that is to eat a very colorful diet. Not colorful with sugar and candy, but colorful with fruits and vegetables.
So all the green, orange, red, yellow.
Bright colors,
like
yes.
What about
mostly
chocolate?
Vegetables.
Chocolate is high in antioxidants.
Yes, but you only need 1 ounce of that a day, not a box. Not a box of chocolates.
All right. Well, and I want to clarify something. You had said that if we have orange juice, thinking that we're bolstering our system, there's a lot of sugar in there, but you also said natural sugar and other fruits is good. Is it because the orange juice we get has added sugar to it? Is there a way of getting just orange juice without added sugar? Because I've never seen that on a
the thing is that the thing that you have to be careful about is, even if you're juicing on your own, so let's say you have a juicer at home and you're trying to be really healthy and you're adding all of this fruit, the problem is it's just a function of how much sugar you're taking in. So let's say you have 3 or 4 or 5 fruits that are ground up in a mixer in the morning and you're juicing. It's too much sugar for one meal. So you still have to kind of think about the total effect of sugar, even if it is fruit. And no added sugar, because it just might be too much sugar for one meal. It's more than what your body can actually absorb and metabolize in one meal, and have it be useful. Okay,
is there anything that we need more about eating that you're talking about there?
We can move on.
Okay, so you're saying, if I'm getting this right, sugar, no, and a lot of the carbs, which there's a lot of carb stuff out there too.
Well,
but I mean, a baked potato, you've got to have that.
Yes, baked potatoes are okay in small amounts. So just not making the majority of your diet white, processed, sugary carbohydrates. You know, lay off on the breads, lay off on the white foods, lay off on the sugar, and add more of the vegetables to your diet so you can bulk up your diet more and feel full longer. And more antioxidants.
You know, I'm thinking all that Christmas stuff that you get that your great-grandmother made and all the rest,
yes.
you know, that was back when times were tough and they just used what they had around there. So it's probably, you know, lard and flour and sugar and all that stuff. It looks great, it tastes great, but it may not really be that wonderful for you.
Well, it probably isn't, and I think the thing that we do this time of year, because the season is extended for so many days, we buy this food because it's available in the grocery stores from such an early date. We start seeing Christmas stuff in October. So people start buying this stuff. I mean, I saw eggnog in the grocery store before Halloween.
No, you're kidding,
so
really?
people have this stuff in their house, and I'm telling you, if you have it in your house, you will eat it.
Right, you paid for it. I'm going to drink it.
You will eat it. I don't care where it is in my house. I will hunt it down and I will eat it or drink it. So you have to not have it in your house. That's the thing.
This is that whole foraging system of our ancestors had. We do it,
hunt
but we
down.
do it in the refrigerator.
That's
What am I going to hunt in the refrigerator? Oh, eggnog. And it's not even Thanksgiving.
Oh, I know. It's rough.
Boy, I'll tell you what, this is going really fast. If you want to be a part of this discussion, you can. Let me give you the number to call in to talk to Nisha. It's 541-776-5770. We're going to be talking more about how you can eat healthy. And I mean, it's really, what you're talking about is what we need to be doing all the time, but there's just too many complications around the Christmas season through New Year's and all the rest. So we'll be back with more on all of that coming up here on Focus Today. Do you want to move in? Well, welcome back to Focus Today with, and I didn't even say where you're from, Nisha Jackson with Ventana Wellness. I guess we just all assume that Nisha Jackson, Ventana Wellness, it goes together, so you use them interchangeably.
Yeah, it does kind of go together.
So you can call us. We are talking about all things, let's say, holiday related. Yes. I'm going to put it in those terms because we've been talking about the diet, and you've been, and I appreciate your differentiating, like we think of natural food as totally safe and healthy, except there can be a lot of sugar if you eat too much of that.
Right.
So that can be a problem. So we've talked about that. Now we want to move on, but I just want to say if you have a question, you can call and be a part of the show at 541-776-5770. Vitamin D, I know you are big on that, and if I am correct, from what I've heard from Nisha Jackson in the past, we're talking vitamin D3.
Right.
Correct? And that is a difference than just vitamin D, right?
And it shouldn't, you know, it shouldn't be any wonder why in the winter months people get sick more often. Right? Well, first of all, we're indoors more, and that creates a problem because we're all kind of circulating germs inside, and we don't get outside as much, especially in this area. But this is the interesting thing about vitamin D, which most people don't know, and we actually didn't know this till just a couple of years ago, is that when your immune system is activated, so let's say you've come in contact with the flu virus, and what happens is your T cells, which are your killer cells they go out and kill the germs that you want, white blood cells that go out and kill the germs. The T cell count is activated, and what it does is it sends out a little vitamin D receptor. And the receptor goes out and it looks for vitamin D in your system. But if you don't have enough vitamin D, your T cell count, which is your killer cells for the germs, can't be activated if you don't have enough vitamin D. So just remember that if you're not taking vitamin D, you probably don't have enough vitamin D in your system to keep you from getting sick. So you can't get enough vitamin D from your diet. Most people can't, to keep their levels at an optimal range. Not just I'm barely not deficient range, but an optimal range. So pretty much everybody, including children, should be on vitamin D if they want their levels up high enough so when their T cells are activated and it goes out looking for vitamin D to activate the immune system, it'll be there and they won't get sick as often. So that's one of the easiest things to do.
And how much? What is the suggested dose each day?
My recommendation is the minimum amount is 2,000 international units a day. They're getting ready to change the national daily recommendation of vitamin D to increase it again. It used to be 400, and then it went to 800, then it went to 1,000, now it's 2,000. So I recommend somewhere between 2,000 and 5,000 international units a day to basically keep your level at an optimal range. You should be tested to see where your range is, where your level is, but that's typically what I see in the office is 2,000 to 5,000 international units a day. Some people more. It's better absorbed with food, especially if you take it with food that has some fat in it, because it's fat soluble and it's actually absorbed better with food. So if you're taking your vitamin D on an empty stomach, it's probably not being absorbed very well.
Vitamin D3 with a nice juicy steak.
With a nice juicy steak. I'm not sure you want that in the morning, but maybe you do.
Steak and egg, sure, why not? Can you take too much? Can you overdose on D3?
You can take too much, and it actually acts like a steroid if you get too much, but I hardly ever see that. I test all of my patients' vitamin D levels, and I hardly ever see that. So it's difficult to get too much. Somewhere between 2,000 and 5,000 international units of D3 a day probably will not get you into a too much range.
Okay.
But again, testing is important.
All right. You know, as we're talking about the holiday season and interacting with all sorts of people coming and going and staying in the house, and, you know, Aunt Francine came from St. Louis and Uncle George came from Minneapolis. You know, and they were on airplanes and a whole lot of people and all this.
Yes.
We think of germs and the problems that way. And you mentioned, how many surfaces do we touch every half hour?
300 every 30 minutes. We touch 300 surfaces every 30 minutes. So like I was saying, it's inevitable that germs and pathogens and viruses are going to come down, across your hands.
Well, one thing I've wondered, the little, you know, spritz stations that have, sanitizers, I have heard that, sure, they're great, and it's like 30 seconds is how long that'll last. And then, because people think, oh, I'm good for 3-4 hours, or well, I don't know, whatever we make it up.
Right.
Put it in perspective. What do we need to know about germ control?
Well, first of all, we should be washing our hands, and you don't need a sanitizer or even soap, because just the friction of washing your hands like this, the friction in water and drying the hands with a towel is really what gets rid of the germs. So you don't have to have like a hand sanitizer, but if you do, you should use them.
Yeah.
Alcohol-based seems to work better. So washing your hands frequently throughout the day is the #1 way of preventing infections. 80% of all viruses are transmitted by the hands.
Really?
80%.
Wow.
So you can cut out 80% by just keeping your hands clean. So, and then other things, every time you shake somebody's hand, you should wash your hand. And we used to shake hands all the time.
Yes, yeah.
I think about all the people at church going through church, shaking everybody's hands, you know, getting on, and then touching their mouth.
Elbow bumping or something like that.
Exactly. Hip bumping.
Yeah.
So shake your hand, shake a hand, wash your hands. Don't. We won't go there.
No, I know some people that'd be tossed across the side of the room.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Whoa!
Exactly.
Okay, so but that's, wow, that is, you think of the Queen of England, that's why she wears gloves.
Yes, well, gloves are not a bad idea. The other thing that you need to be careful about is not touching your face. I see people, you know, touching, you know, thinking and having their hands all over their mouth, their eyes, their nose. So just think 80% of infections are transmitted by these right here.
You know what you just brought up is a memory, I mean, a thought that I've seen this before. Have you seen like cashiers, especially counting money, and they'll go thwap, thwap, thwap. And then they, you know, the tongue and the mouth and the thumb, and then they're getting more friction. I'm thinking, you're just transmitting that internally now, like in a real direct way. And money has to be one of the filthiest things from a germ standpoint.
I know, it's disgusting when you think about it. And some of the germs and pathogens live for days on surfaces. So cleaning your surfaces, your computer, like when is the last time you cleaned that computer keyboard?
That's a good point.
It was probably last year sometime, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So wiping down your surfaces, your phone, I mean, we constantly have our phone in our hands.
Okay, when you say wiping it down, we're talking about like with a
sanitizer
wipe kind of a thing? Okay.
Yes, and we should actually be wiping down our surfaces that we touch every day several times a day. Isn't that crazy to think about? We never do it.
You know, I see the people who do that and I think that they're crazy, but actually now it's making a whole lot of sense.
Oh, absolutely. Going in the shopping carts, please grab those wipes and wash off the shopping cart.
It's nice to see that the stores have those now.
Yes.
Walmart has put those up a lot.
Right, and as long as they're not out of them.
Yeah, that's
But I keep my own little wipes in my purse.
You do? Okay.
So wiping down your surfaces, do not use other people's pens. This is another thing I see in stores is people will say, here, you can sign right here, use my pen. Well, how many people have touched that pen?
Another
And then you
surface.
touch your face or your mouth or you wipe your nose.
And you're counting money and you're plop, plop, plop.
Yes. And during the holiday season, if you're using, if you're going and you're going to dip your chip into something, you might want to think twice about that. They've even evaluated dips. of people double dipping after they put it in their mouth, and people, they start talking, and they're at these very festive parties, and they stick their chip in twice.
They've double dipped.
Not good.
This is a Seinfeld show.
It is a cesspool for germs. That beautiful dip that looks so good.
I wish we had.
So might want to forego the dip.
I wish we had that clip from George Costanza. Yeah. Add one of those things.
Don't double dip.
And he goes, hey, what'd you do? He goes, what? You double dipped. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. You double dipped. It was like the cardinal sin of anything social.
It really is, because now we know it is a cesspool for germs. That beautiful dip on the holiday table.
You're taking the fun out of Christmas. I know.
I'm just trying to protect people. I'm trying to make sure that they don't have to miss work, that they can stay healthy, they can enjoy the holiday without blowing their nose.
All right, do you have a happy thing? We've talked about vitamin D3 and germ control. What do we have next? Exercise? Do you want to talk about that?
And one more thing.
Okay.
And when you blow your nose, let's say you are getting sick and you use a tissue to blow your nose, throw the tissue away. Do not use it again.
Oh, please, you're right.
No, a lot of people use the tissue or Kleenex multiple times, throw that thing away.
And then they use it to clean their keyboard because they think they're sanitizing it.
That's right. Okay, exercise. I have to talk about exercise.
We don't have much time, but we do have time for that, yeah.
Exercise. People who exercise are half as likely to get sick. 50% reduction in the flu virus.
Wow, cool.
You look good and you don't get sick. That's a great combo. We should be exercising.
You're right. So are at least 30 minutes a day, that kind of a thing? I mean,
minimum. Break a sweat. Try to break a sweat every single day. It powers up your immune system. It increases your T cell count. It releases endorphins. It helps you feel better. It helps reduce cravings so you're not eating the bad food. That lowers your immune system. It just all works together.
Wow, that's good. Well, that is an optimistic thing. But we still have a little bit of time.
And one more thing.
Are you going to depress us now?
No, one more thing. The people who do get sick that are exercising, because some people still get sick when they exercise, right? Because they run themselves down in other ways. But their recovery rate is cut in half. So their sickness doesn't last as long if they're exercising. So that's one more advantage of exercising regularly.
What I think of also is you're talking about exercise and people think that's great, but then also you're at the gym using equipment that has not been wiped down.
Oh, good point.
So you're talking about all the surfaces. I'll bet when you go to the gym, you're hitting far more than, what'd you say, 300 surfaces
300 surfaces in 30 minutes.
I'll bet you're doing even more than that.
Yeah.
So be sure to wash your hands there too.
But it's like compound interest. Think about this. It's 300 surfaces in 30 minutes, but think about how many people have touched those 300 surfaces.
Oh, man.
Oh, thousands.
Yeah.
So be very careful.
And it can live a lot longer than I thought.
Days. Yeah. So you've got to be wiping down your surfaces.
That's amazing.
Yes, wow. some pathogens days.
All right. And so stress is a good thing from the standpoint of exercise, and that might reduce your overall stress for the holiday, right?
Yeah, it absolutely would. And managing your stress is key too, because that compromises your immune system, which is hard this time of year, but you got to do what you can.
Okay. Nisha with Ventana Wellness, great to have you with us. How can people get in touch with you?
They can call the office, 773-9772.
All right, we'll be back with more Focus today, right here on theDove.